everyone. Welcome to CarrTalk. Very excited to have you with us here as we meet again to talk about the latest in e-commerce and everything that's happening in the world today. Very excited to have Dan with us. We'd love to just learn a little bit about you. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey folks, Dan Westcott. Nice to meet you. Nice to be here. I witnessed a great event, the 20th celebration of Spreetail.
Oh, yeah.
I am SVP of Global Marketing at Basic Fund. So that effectively for our company is about macro strategy, line architecture, marketing tactics and strategy. And so I've been in the space here, the toy business for like plus 20 years.
Yeah.
I spent some time over at Spin Master, running some divisions there, and at Jack Pacific before that. But I'm a toy lifer. I love to play in this space. Yeah. And what we do really at Basic Fun, I would say, as like an ethos is we're into nostalgia, right? So taking iconic things, nostalgic things, and modernizing them, making them relevant for today. The category that we're working really hand in hand in the arcade business is part and parcel to that. It's taking these nostalgic cabinets and games and bringing them to consumers of today. So,
I think a lot of folks don't know all the amazing brands you all own. Yeah. You maybe want to rattle them off.
Yeah. So some of the brands in our portfolio are Littlest Pet Shop, Tonka, Care Bears, Light Bright, Dungeons and Dragons, Stretch Armstrong, and a host of others. We do quite a big business in the collectible space. So, you'd see us at every major retailer and on Amazon, and drug, food, all of it. So we have, I think, a pretty good diversified portfolio. We kind of rally around this whole nostalgic piece to it.
A big legacy company, a lot of powerful brands, and a lot of new things happening in the space. A lot of hybrid brands, hybrid products, right? Interconnecting. So that's awesome. Well, thanks for being with us. We're excited about our partnership with Basic Fun and excited to bring a lot of new products to market this year and next year. And so we get the most excited about bringing new SKUs to market, seeing them rock off the shelf.
Yeah.
So we're excited to do that. Well, let's jump into some of that. There's a lot going on in retail right now. There's a lot going on in e-commerce. Maybe Dan, just talk to us about what you're doing to kind of think about staying relevant in the current world environment, how you think about that, how Basic Fun think about that. I can talk about that with Spreetail too.
Yeah, I think for us, retail moves fast. And so, as any company or any brand, you have to sort of figure out like, what are the things that are going to stay constant and what are the things that are going to evolve? And I think for us, as it relates to our relationship with arcade, is like doubling down on the arcade appeal and making sure that like, that's the thing that stays constant. That's the thing that we're rallying behind, but how we show up is how and where we evolve. And so I think just making sure our content, our positioning, our strategies are constantly evolving and we're working in concert with your team, I think is really how we want to stay current and stay ahead.
Yeah, a lot of that, you're right on with that. I think a lot of that for us is making sure we go to the customer where they are. And so making sure we have the products, in a place where the customers are comfortable shopping, whether that's brick and mortar, online, and even more social, TikTok and otherwise. And I think that's a lot of what we've learned at Spreetail is that each customer has their own blend, and it's our job to make sure our products are present and available. And I think you've done that. Interesting. What do you see specifically with arcades? You kind of mentioned, meeting the customer there, meeting in their space in terms of that. Curious what you all are sniffing out in the arena of arcades. You're newly involved.
Yeah, I think naturally we feel like arcade is all about nostalgia, but it's about so many other things, right? So that purchase behavior is around entertainment. It's about decor. It's about collectability. It's about creating your game room statement. And so for us, it's really just being cognizant of all those different kind of behavioral traits that we want to go and try to get. Yeah.
And people misunderstand some of that, right? Maybe what it's about or why someone would buy the product. The products they're not cheap,
no.
Right? It's quite a bit of dollars that someone's going to outlay. It's certainly a discretionary item, right? No one has to have an arcade, but kind of how do you all think about that? Maybe where customers misunderstand why someone would want that or why they would want to embrace it.
Well, I think you go back to nostalgia on some level. It's like we all grew up playing with some of these toys, and on the Basic Fun side, it's like, all these people that grew up with Littlest Pet Shop and Tonka are now parents that want to introduce that product to their kids and to their families and to that experience. And it's rich with that emotionality. And I think arcade's not that different. It's all of us that grew up playing in the arcades, like whether it's Pac-Man or Golden Tee or Buck Hunter or whatever their game is, whatever your game is, it's like now you're a purchaser and you want to create that for your kid and for your family. And so, interestingly enough, like, I think the Arcade One Up brand is a unique brand in that like 35% of the people that buy an Arcade One Up product buy another.
Right, have more, right?
Yeah, so this idea of collecting, I think is an important...
And building out a space, right? Like a space. I mean, we're fortunate enough to have 3 of the machines here at this retail headquarters. Would love to have many more, and we will someday.
Oh, you will?
But I agree, they're fantastic to come and play and move from machine to machine. Is exciting. But yeah, with Street Fighter and Galaga, it's a lot of fun games. What's as you kind of think about the launches and all that you're doing, whether it's with your legacy brands or also now newly with Arcade One Up, what do you think some of the hardest things to get right, like pricing or promotions or content, or maybe working across many different channels with the concert of strategy that plays together?
I think it's a balance of everything. Like, ultimately, the biggest challenge for us, even as a company, like to get all of our ducks in a row at Basic Fun, is discipline. And so being disciplined about like what the assortment is and isn't, what your channel strategy is, what the point of differentiation is for each of your different channels, I think is really, really important. The content that goes there, who your distribution partner is. So like, we're thrilled to be working with you, and just spending time with you in your home just emboldens us that we've made the right decision to partner with you. So I think for us, it's sometimes like what not to do. Like, we don't need to chase every opportunity, like focus on the key bets and just execute them really, really well.
Less is more, right?
Less is more.
And also, even, with arcades, we know that there's many different kinds, there's many different games and products, but there's also the central ones that are the driving force, right? And we think of Pac-Man as being an example of that. And so I think that that's probably true with the rest of the strategy in the business as well. And that, even to some degree, at least when it comes to e-commerce, is also true with Amazon, right?
Sure.
If anyone's in e-com and doesn't have a really great Amazon strategy, you're probably in trouble, right? Because still remains the lion in the room. Is there ways that you all think about, say, Amazon as opposed to all the other channels that, Arcade One Up's on? You even have really excited to grow your D2C site and see that really thriving, right? It has a lot of legacy, a lot of customers that have engaged through the years. So that it's exciting to kind of balance both those. But curious how you think about Amazon as maybe opposed to some of the other channels.
I think Amazon certainly is a great showroom for us. It's a place where a lot of people go and search.
Everyone sees it there, right? It's a billboard. Billboard. Yeah.
And more and more people and customers are using Amazon versus Google to search for things. And so just really understanding all the different tactics that you can optimize your brand, your items, your listings to convert on Amazon, I think is really great. I mean, we'll tell more of our organic and authentic brand story D2C. And so, we're sort of in a transition year where we purchase select assets of One Up. And as we finish the year, you're going to see a really nice curated site for us that I think tells a really cohesive story. And that's been one of the challenges for us, is like making sure that, like, no matter where you see us, whatever that channel is, whether it's brick and mortar, whether it's Amazon, wherever it may be, that you see Arcade One Up product, that there's a cohesive, authentic,
consistent story.
Yeah.
You've kind of brought that up multiple times today, this notion around simplicity, consistency, and that brings me back to the brand, which is not surprising because you all have grown and built by building these nostalgic, wonderful brands. To do that well, you have to keep very true to them, right? You can't have a lot of fluff around the edges. That's probably pretty hard when it comes to assortment expansion, though, right? Because there's probably a lot of tempting things to add into the line. How do you kind of think about that? Like, when's it a good time to add a new item versus maybe, it's a little bit too much of an extension of the line?
I think it's a great question. And I think we look at the line in sort of different buckets. There's like the evergreen foundational brand, or titles, I should say. So Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Golden Tee, there are certain tried and true brands that you have to have in your stable. And then what are the new, more topically relevant brands? So like you know, there's a big tentpole moment coming in 27 for Star Wars. It's their 50th anniversary. We have a Sonic movie coming.
Yeah.
We have, you know, Mortal Kombat movie coming this year. So the point is really just thinking through like how you graft in the right level of newness and trend, but also just keeping your eye on the ball with the foundation evergreen brands.
Yeah. I suppose we need a K-pop Demon Hunters arcade. Get one, right?
Yeah, no doubt. That's a tough product to get.
Not very nostalgic, but on trend.
Yes,
with current reality.
And in 15 years, it'll be nostalgic.
Well,
the other thing that's interesting is looking at some of these brands in that kind of way is saying, 20 years back, what was hot? What were the brands, and how do we bring those back? Or what are some of the anniversary tentpole moments for each of the brands where we're like, actually, that's a 20th anniversary. That's a 50th anniversary. Like we should hit that. We should reskin that. We should update that, that particular product or that brand.
You know, it's interesting a little bit, kind of out of this normal what we see, but it does seem like with movies, with family entertainment, we have like this world where you used to have all these dramas and these adventure movies, and now you just have these kid movies that are just dominating at the box office, right? You have movies like Zootopia, or of course, you know, the Mario movies. And they're just breaking all these records. And then you mentioned, you know, others coming out with Sonic's had several. It is kind of a weird environment where maybe in the U.S. folks are wanting to gravitate more towards that play and nostalgia. Maybe life feels a little too serious the rest of the time, and we need to kind of have an adventure that's a little bit different. But it seems like that's appealing not to just kids or young folks, but old folks alike, which is a good time to be in the space.
I think so too. And I think, you know, these content creators of these big movies are like getting smarter and smarter about how they make the movie more attractive to the adult. So like, hey, we want to go and watch that movie. We're happy to watch it again and again and again when it goes to on demand or video on demand at home. So and I think for us, some of these bits of IP like Mario are things that we grew up with as kids. And so it's fun to have our kids experience them now in these new ways. Yeah,
totally. Maybe let's talk about the last 12 months. You know, we've had tariffs, right? I think we're about a year since Liberation Day, April of last year, when the Trump administration announced tariffs. That was a big impact. Of course, a lot of toys are made in China as well as Southeast Asia. And so they had that impact. We've had different levels of inbound transportation, you know, hiccups. Of course, even recently, the war in Iran has created issues with transportation. But yeah, what's been maybe a top thing that you all have seen that's been maybe a difficult thing in the last 12 months versus something that's really driving growth for the business?
I go back to the same thing about intentionality and discipline. Like we can chase the moon and do so many different things, but can we execute them well? Are we cannibalizing sales across channels? And I think for us, what we've really tried to be and challenged ourselves to be, because there are varying opinions at Basic Fun of what to do, is to be disciplined and to just like make sure that we've got a clear-cut channel strategy, our assortment's tight, and that we execute them super well and it's okay, I think, for us to leave a little food on the table and we can chase it next year, healthy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, you know, at retail, we talk a lot about operations and operations hygiene, and I think a lot of folks get focused on what I'll call like fancier types of ways to grow. But we often find that a lot of folks just mess up in the basics. And so for us, are you in stock, right, when the customer is there? Are you shipping incredibly fast so that the product is available in brick and mortar or online in 24 hours and 30 hours? And I think that if you can do some of those fundamentals well, great listing content, then that can really drive your business day in, day out. And you don't always have to do the big fancy thing or the next crazy idea. It's easy to get distracted with those things.
Yeah. It's not a sexy thing to espouse, but like fundamentals in retail readiness, if you just do those things really well, you're going to be successful, right? Collaboratively. And I think what I've come to realize about you and your team and Spreetel as a whole is that you guys are super sound on your fundamentals, and you're a great collaborative partner for us.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's something we grew up in the e-commerce space, right? We launched on eBay 20 years ago. We're celebrating our 20-year anniversary. And I think, hundreds and hundreds of companies have lived and died in that 20-year time frame, especially e-commerce companies where margins can be really challenging, right? With a lot of costs and returns and transportation. So we appreciate you saying that. It's something we pride ourselves on as being highly responsive, relentless, and operationally oriented. And I think if you combine that with the brand that's super powerful like you all have, I think we can do some really special things and sell a lot of units and ultimately help a lot of families, right? To enjoy some great products in their home.
Bring some joy to the world.
Exactly, right? Like if I can enjoy, playing Galaga with my 10-year-old son, hopefully a lot of other people can do that, right? And have the chance to do that.
That's the thing too that I oftentimes pinch myself. It's like I work for a toy company.
Yeah.
I literally get to help create joy for everyone, right? Families alike. So it's not lost on me, like making sure that when we deliver a product, we're not overstepping, we're not doing too much. Like we're intentional in executing it on a high level.
I have to ask, I'll probably get in trouble for asking this question, but do you have a favorite of the games that's a personal favorite? I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, so yes. So it's actually changed over the years. So Buck Hunter, Big Buck Hunter is my favorite.
Okay.
And when I was courting my wife in Minnesota, we used to go to the bars after dinner, and we just so happened to play Big Buck Hunter. And she smoked me for 12 years. Like I didn't come close
That'll
to
keep you
beating her
focused
for 12 years. And so now I beat her a couple of years ago, and I promptly retired. But there's a soft spot in my heart for that because it's like a little bit of a love story with my wife. Yeah. How about you?
No, I would go back to Galaga. I don't know. It's just something it feels very nostalgic. It reminds me of being really young, and it also is like you versus the world a little bit of kind of taking on all these fighters it always is so annoying when the bullets come through and just barely clip my wing and then I'm done. But anyway,
I think also when I was a young kid, probably the thing I remember most is like are these little kind of cocktail table sit down machines. Like after soccer games, the team would go to like Pizza Hut, and we would all run to go play that. And it was like, I just loved. It's such a simple game.
Yeah,
that gives me some rosy feelings.
Yeah. My son is 10, and he's got the proper lingo. I don't know if all 10-year-olds talk like this, but whenever I say we're going to the office to play games, he says, "Let's go, bro."
Yeah,
that's what he says to me, and I'm like, "I'm not a bro. I'm your dad. Like, let's talk seriously." But anyway, it's pretty funny. Thinking about back to 2026. Is there one or two things that you all would say, hey, if we can achieve these things in 2026, whether it's with the arcade brands or otherwise, what's on your roadmap of what success looks like?
We're super boring here. It's like sustainable, profitable growth. Execute the things that we have in place, making sure that, we're delivering all of the retail readiness assets and tactics on time. I think for us, like success means those things. And I think we're primed to do that. And I think it's setting ourselves up for a really fun 27 where you're going to see from us, and some of the team will see that today after this interview, a little bit of our vision casting on how we want or how we look at some of the adjacencies in the space outside of just kind of your retro arcades. How do you build out more of the game room?
Yeah. And a lot of that's tied with many of your licensee partners too, right? Because they have many ideas. There's many, and you all probably have more licensed partners than anybody, I would imagine. It seems like you do.
We have a lot of licensors, and I think, there are some small ones and big ones. I mean, we're the largest toy licensee of Hasbro.
Wow.
And I think, there's the idea of licensing is you have this built-in fandom that you don't have to spend as much money to acquire. And so, in some cases, it's just a right strategic approach depending on the category. And it's definitely set us up for success in the arcade space, just exactly how that works. We've partnered with a lot of those same licensors. So for us stepping in, it's like, we already know all these people. And it's fun to be able to extend our relationship with them.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to that thing, right? The quality of the relationship, the quality of your connections. Even though we live in this digital world, this fast shipping operations world, it's our relationship with you all, your relationship with the licensed partners, and we all get together and make it work, right? Get products produced and get them here. I think we've discussed a lot of great things today. I think we really appreciate the partnership. I maybe pivot a little bit, and curious if you have any advice for someone that's, maybe newly entering the toy space in their career or newly thinking about it or newly kind of starting out in marketing operations. Curious what types of things you might share with them that's made you successful overall?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a tough question. I
Yeah.
think it comes back to the non-sexy answers.
Yeah.
Just like know who you are, know who you aren't, know where your point of differentiation is, beat that thing hard in your communications so that like your customer knows exactly what problem you're solving or what benefit you're creating. I think also just making sure you choose your partners really well. Plug here for Spreetel. It's like, you know, your partners can make a lot of noise for you and make it hard, or they can make it easy and accelerate your success and your growth. So I think those are just key key characteristics that if you can follow, I mean, that's, you give yourself a fighting chance.
Yeah, good advice. Learn how to use AI, I guess, right?
Yeah,
It's all the rage, or not to use it. We don't know yet.
we use it a lot. I'm sure you all do too. It's like, it's just figuring out how to use it, and also that you can't be a tourist with it. It's like, you know, if something's right or wrong when you're getting something back from AI. And so just knowing that there's always a place for the human component to check it and make sure it's right, and using it as like a way to be more efficient in your space.
Yeah, it's couldn't be more true. You know, it comes back to the basics, hard work. But yeah, we're excited. I think we have a shot to move, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of units together and make a lot of happy customers, and really help brick and mortar retailers and e-commerce players throughout the U.S. and beyond, right? Move into other markets as well. So thank you so much. Yeah, let's go do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Hey, man, great to see you. Thank you for this.